friends, welcome to the video. I'm Olivia, and if you've never seen my face before, as you see behind me, I'm a fragrance enthusiast, reviewer, whatever you'd like to call me, and if you have seen my face before, hello friends! I am so excited to announce that I, in fact, have gotten my Instagram account back. I told you guys last week that it was suspended for counterfeit materials, but I submitted appeal after appeal after appeal, and luckily I got my account back, so thank you so much to those of you who were sending me well wishes. I was definitely stressed because that's my main form of communication with you guys. I don't always answer on messages here, but if you message me over on Instagram, I'm more than likely to respond. But one comment that I've gotten very frequently on this channel is, can we have a tour of all of your fragrances? So that's what we're up to today. We are going to do a massive tour, and hopefully this video isn't incredibly long because I want to walk you guys through this entire collection. I have over 300 bottles, so it will take quite a bit of time. So I'm going to try and keep my explanations very brief. This is just to show you guys what I have, so that way if you see anything that seems interesting to you, let me know in the comments below and I'll do a more thorough review on it. So let's get started. So on this shelf we have all of my sniff fragrances, my Salt Air body mist, and my Juliet Has a Gun collection. First up I have Burning Bridges, which is a spicy vanilla woody fragrance. Next is Golden Ticket, which is a fresh citrusy tea fragrance. Then we have Citrus Circus that smells like an orange and vanilla creamsicle. Sweet Ash, which is a woody sweet saffron, kind of smells a little bit like Baccarat Rouge. Wow Factor, which is a very green neroli fig fragrance. Chrome Couture, which smells like a buttery croissant with blueberry jam. Way with Woods, which is a fresh, slightly marine woody fragrance. Tarte Deco, which is a spicy woody cherry fragrance that kind of smells like a cherry pie. And Show Pony, which is a little bit dark and leathery along with some florals. First from Salt Air we have Santal Bloom, and this reminds me of Amber Romance from Victoria's Secret. This is a creamy sandalwood with jasmine and amber. Next is their newest release called Exotic Pulp, and this has notes of orange, guava, and driftwood. Pacific Pear, and to me this smells like a floral pear shampoo, and these are only $14 for 8 fluid ounces. They're really good price. Pink Beach, and this is creamy coconut, almond blossom, and vanilla. Next is my Juliet Has a Gun collection, and this is Lipstick Fever, and it smells like cosmetics, and it has a sweet raspberry musky scent. Pear Ink is a slightly aquatic, semi-sweet pear with a strong musky dry down. It smells like a shower gel. Not a perfume. This is very popular. It is a singular note perfume that is the kind of Your Skin But Better fragrance. It's Cetilox, so you can also use this as a fragrance enhancer, layering it under your regular fragrances to make it last a little bit longer. Ego Stratus is an aquatic fresh blue fragrance that is perfectly unisex and has the note of musk and blueberries. Lastly is Lily Fantasy, and this is a white floral balm with the note of bubblegum, so it's very sweet, floral, and has that signature musky dry down like most of the Juliet Has a Gun fragrances. On my next shelf, I have my Le Monde Gourmand fragrances, a couple body mists, my Fleur fragrances, and my Navitus fragrances. Starting off with the only Bath & Body Works fragrances that I have in my collection. I picked them up at the sale recently. They were on sale for $5. This is Champagne Apple and Honey, and this is Marshmallow Pumpkin Latte. I feel like the name for this one is a little misleading because this is nowhere near as sweet or pumpkin-y as one would imagine. It's a soft, woody, musky fragrance, and then this one is just fun and refreshing, just something I can chuck on during the day. Next is Blue Blue from Le Monde Gourmand. This is your traditional, slightly masculine, fresh aquatic fragrance along the lines of Bleu de Chanel or Acqua di Gio, but these are super affordable. These are only $25. Clementine Bisou is a fresh clementine fragrance with the note of frangipani that gives it a little bit of a tropical floral touch. 000, this is going to be your slightly clean laundry clean skin, sweet, everyday sort of fragrance. This is great to chuck on if you're going to the gym and you just want to smell good. And lastly is Miel Bébé, and despite the notes, this kind of reminds me of Gorgeous Gardenia from Gucci. Next is a solid fragrance that I have from Fulton & Rourke, and this is called Calle Ocho, and this is a warm and spicy woody fragrance, and it's really good for layering. You just put that on your pulse points, and it's cool to chuck in your bag. Next are my Fleur fragrances. This is their newest release called Father Figure. This is a fig fragrance. It's powdery, not too sweet, and has a little bit of a suede leather dry down. Apricot Privé reminds me of a spiced warm apricot pie or a peach cobbler. Ameline is a natural smelling rose with a little bit of spiciness and a little bit of a green touch. It smells very realistic. Tangerine Boy is quite literal. It smells like you are biting into the fresh meat of a tangerine, so you're getting that sweetness as opposed to the peel, which is a little bit more fragrant and aromatic. Somebody Wood is a very creamy sandalwood fragrance. It's simple but really effective. It's super cozy, and I like to wear this one to bed. This is my favorite out of the collection. This is not your baby. This reminds me of Marc Jacobs Perfect. It is creamy and floral. It's sweet with a little bit of spiciness and a little bit powdery. I just love this one. And probably the most popular is Missing Person. This is a simple white musk with some really delicate florals. Another one that would be good for just wearing day to day. It's pretty unassuming and doesn't last too long, but it's nice and fresh. Next are my Navitus fragrances. This one is called The Key. This has ginger, gin, some citruses, and is very light and refreshing, but lasts a long time. It leans on the masculine side a little bit. Navis is also a slightly masculine, refreshing one, but this one has the note of juniper. It has some neroli, a bit of vetiver, and cedar. Veuve Matin is definitely one of my favorite out of the more masculine of this range. This is very aromatic, so it has bay leaf and sage with some juniper, and to me this is a little bit more unisex. Ediola I've talked about quite a bit. This kind of reminds me of if Delina Exclusive and 100 Silent Ways had a baby. You have some peach and jasmine, some rose, and it's a very beautiful feminine fragrance, and it lasts a really long time. I love the quality of these. Next is Rêve Nuit. This smells like a lemon custard. It's very sweet, but then it has some rosemary and cypress, so it has some green qualities to it that make it really nuanced. So it starts off sweet and then gets a little bit unisex. A very interesting scent. My most complimented from the brand is Intimus. This is a sweet, slightly masculine fragrance, and it smells very similar to Ultramale by Jean Paul Gaultier. And I like this one a lot. This is called Raised Spirits, and this has vanilla and caramel, brown sugar. It also has tobacco and booze, but the pimento leaf gives it quite a bit of spiciness on opening that sticks around until the dry down. So this will be really good for winter. Here is where my bottles start to get a little bit mismatched, where I have different brands sitting together, so that'll happen a couple times during this video. Starting off with my Haute Couture by Givenchy, I have the EDT and the EDP. This is a smoky woody raspberry fragrance. I have 3 from Parfums de Marly. I have Volea, which is a clean musky citrus fragrance, but it's totally beast mode. I have Delina Exclusive because I like that it's a little bit more powdery than the original. And I have Cassili, which is a fruity floral, but it's also very creamy. I have 2 from the house of Veronique Gabai. This is Ver Désir and this is Sexy Garrig. Sexy Garrig is an ambery fragrance, very warm and sensual, and Ver Désir is herbal, green, and very refreshing. I have 3 from the house of Floral Street, starting with Wonderland Peony, which is a peony guava sugary fragrance. Very, very sweet and delicious. In the center, I have Sunflower Pop, and this is a very citrus forward fragrance. And I have the newest release, which is Sweet Almond Blossom in the blue, and it smells a little bit generic to me. I'm still getting familiarized with it, so I'll keep my thoughts to myself, but that is my Floral Street collection. Next, I have Marc Jacobs Perfect and Perfect Intense. They're both almond fragrances, but this one is a little bit more wintry, and this one is more spring-summer with a little bit of tangy sweetness in the beginning from some rhubarb. Next are 2 from the brand Farmacia SS Annunziata. This is Via dell'Incenso, and this is Fiore di Cotone. This one smells like clean laundry and cotton fields. It is so special. I got this when I was in Rome, and I'm I'm just in love with this fragrance house. And this one is an incense fragrance, but it's very powerful yet somehow still sheer, which is unique for an incense fragrance. They tend to be very heavy. So this is the most wearable incense fragrance I have. Next, I just have one from this brand. This is the brand JUS, and this is called Spritz Love. And this is a very fresh oud, which is also difficult to do. This has some bitter orange and petitgrain that keeps it a little bit green and fresh, and it has a nice dry vetiver. Next are two that I have from Define Me. From the crystal collection, you guys can see that they have crystals in the bottles. This one is called Kahana, and it's like a chilled coconut water. And then we have Rami, which to me smells like a fluffy angel food cake. It is very warming and fluffy. It's just delicious, and the quality of these are really good, and they're super affordable. I just love this fragrance house. Next are three from Define Me, but these ones are in the butterfly collection. I have Sophia Isabel over here, which is a clementine, very sugary, sweet fragrance, very strong on the citruses. We have Delphine, which is a fresh lilac, and Audrey, which is a jasmine, peony, and rose. I have two from the Moon collection from Pacifica. This one is Flower Moon and this is Sunrise Moon, and they're actually both peach based, but this one is a little bit more spicy, while as this one is a little bit more floral. And three more from Pacifica. We have Island Vanilla, we have Hawaiian Ruby Guava, and we have Tahitian Gardenia. The Gardenia to me feels a little bit powdery, really heavy on the white florals. Ruby Guava is juicy and sweet, really refreshing, and then the Island Vanilla is just a simple vanilla, but it leans a little bit powdery. This shelf is not very aesthetic, that's why it's towards the bottom, but I have a whole mishmash of different fragrances here. Starting with One Umbrella for Two from Floraiku. This is a blueberry tea fragrance, kind of smells like Earl Grey tea and a pastry. Very, very strong on the citruses in the beginning and very pricey, but I adore this fragrance. Next is Aquamarine and Powder from EBK. This is a powder bomb. It smells a little bit vintage, but it also has a bizarre oceanic type quality, so very interesting. These are my Chanels. I have Chanel No. 5 and Chanel No. 5 Low. The Low being the more watered down, clean, fresh version, and then this one being very powdery, very floral, yet still very clean smelling with the aldehydes. I personally like Chanel No. 5, but I realize it's not for everyone, so if you haven't already tried the Low version, if you didn't care for the original, I would try this one. One more from Pacifica. This is their French Lilac. This is an incredibly photorealistic lilac scent, so if you like the scent of lilacs, it reminds me of childhood, so I keep it just in the body mist form. This is from the brand Orientica. This is their Arte Bellissimo line. This is called Romantic, and to me this smells like the original Delina. It's a sweet and tangy rose fragrance, but this one leans a little bit more green to my nose than Delina. Next is Sol de Janeiro Charosa 71. This is the caramelized vanilla and macadamia, but to me this smells like syrup on pancakes or caramel popcorn. Next is Italica by Casa Murati. This smells like you are dunking a warm gooey stroopwafel into a glass of cold milk. Next is Burberry Elixir. This one to me smells a lot like the original, but I think the florals are a bit more prominent, a little tiny bit indolic, and a little bit more creamy. I don't wear this a whole lot just because my husband wears the original as his signature scent, and they do bear quite a resemblance that I just associate this fragrance with him. So when he's out of town, I slip this one on just to think of him. Next is Irresistible by Givenchy. This is a super pretty pear rose fragrance. It's very girly and musky and sweet, and I just think it is so gorgeous. Next is Sacred Water by The Harmonist, and to me this smells like a luxury spa. It has the note of spicy mint that makes it very, very cooling, so great for hot days, but it is quite strong, and the florals can be intense if you overspray. This is Bianco Latte by the brand Giardini di Toscana. This is a really, really creamy vanilla fragrance. It's ultra sweet. It's got some caramel, so it kind of smells like dulce de leche. Next is Petite Cherie by Goutal. This is also a lilac fragrance, but you have the note of peach and pear, making it really juicy in the beginning. But this is also a little bit green with the note of grass, so this is very delicate and would be good for a wedding. It's very fresh. Next is Coffee Cloud from Good Chemistry. If you you've smelled Ariana Grande Cloud, you have pretty much smelled this. They smell really similar, except this has the note of cappuccino, which is definitely far off in the background, so it's slightly different, but if you've smelled Cloud, you've definitely smelled this. Next is Glossier You, perfect everyday scent. It is musky and powdery and has the note of pink pepper to give it a little bit of spiciness, and it lasts a really long time. Next is the super popular Yara by Lattafa. Everyone says that this smells like strawberries and cream, but to me, I don't really get a strawberry note. I get a nice vanilla, almost shea butter hair conditioner type feel. It smells smooth, but it doesn't smell that fruity to me. Next is Invisible Touch by La Perla. This is a powdery aldehydic fragrance. It smells a little bit old school, a little bit vintage, but if you like Chanel No. 5, this is almost like a modern day iteration without all the intense florals. I have two from the house of Une Nuit Nomade, Jardins de Misfa and Ambre Canjar. This is a spicy, warm, ambery fragrance. I really like it because it's not so heavy and mature as some amber fragrances. And Jardins de Misfa is a rose saffron fragrance with the note of almond and dates, so it smells a little bit like Middle Eastern dessert. Next is the brand new release from Define Me in their creative studios. This is Barbie, and this is some candied sweet red fruits with some really fresh florals. This is really fun, a little young, and lasts a decent amount of time. From the House of Lancôme, I have the original La Vie Belle and I have the Iris Absolute Flanker. The difference being is that the Flanker has a lot more powderiness and also has the note of fig, making it a little less sweet, a little bit more earthy, and I prefer this Flanker over the original. The original is quite a white floral bomb and is very thick and sweet, so for me, I would wear the Flanker in a little bit warmer weather and I would wear the original in really cool weather, which we don't really get in Southern California all that much. Here I have Love Don't Be Shy by Kilian. This is an orange blossom fragrance with a heavy dose of marshmallow. It's very sweet and powdery with a really strong white floral undertone. This is Worthy by Mudo. This is a beautiful skin scent. It will just give your skin a clean, smooth, sweet, slightly floral fragrance. It is really beautiful, and I have a travel size that I have already gone through of this. Next is from Mixbar. These are really affordable. You can get these at Target. This is Sparkling Hibiscus, and I like to layer this with a hibiscus fragrance from Bath & Body Works. It's just really sweet and very summery. And this is my shelf on the very bottom. Sorry if you see that the camera is a little bit wiggly. I'm gonna have to hold it because it's so close to the ground that my tripod will not hold it up. So in here we have my 7 Virtues fragrances and a whole bunch of different ones, so let's get into it. The only full-size bottle I have of Chris Collins is Citrus Grandis, and this is a fresh vetiver citrus fragrance with pomelo. It is unisex, slightly leaning masculine. Next, this is the only one I have from Stranger's Perfumery, and this is a very bizarre gourmand fragrance. It does kind of dry down to have almost a cigarette-like smell to it, but I actually really enjoy that. I know it's not for everybody, but I'm into it. First, from the 7 Virtues, we have Vanilla Woods. This is a smoky, woody vanilla. Speaking of a cigarette-like dry down, does anyone else get a cigarette-like dry down on this one? Because oddly enough, I do. Next is Lotus Pear, and if you like Gorgeous Gardenia from Gucci, this kind of reminds me a lot of it. It has those white florals with some sweetness. Very similar, although this one is a vegan, cruelty-free, natural brand. Coconut Sun. This is a creamy coconut with some tropical florals like ylang. The ylang is very prominent in this. I think it smells very expensive, but these are pretty affordable. Santal Vanille. This kind of reminds me of Santal 33 by Le Labo, but a more creamy, sweet, slightly more feminine version, and is not as pickly as Santal 33. Next, we have Angel Muse EDT by Mugler. This is a passion fruit vetiver fragrance with the note of chocolate hazelnut spread. So it's got a Nutella vibe along with a bright and juicy passion fruit. So it's a very bizarre fragrance. It almost has a dirtiness to it, but I keep it around because it's peculiar and I like it. Next is Born Dreamer by Charlie D'Amelio. This smells like bubblegum to me, but on the dry down, it smells really similar to Kat Von D Saint, which is far discontinued. It was the one in the really ornate white bottle. So if you guys like that one, the dry down on this, very similar, but the opening is much sweeter. This is Calvin Klein Women EDT. If you guys ever see this at discount stores, pick it up. It is such a beautiful, spicy, citrusy floral fragrance. If you were ever a fan of Light Blue by Dolce & Gabbana, this kind of gives me similar vibes, except for it's more floral and a little less unisex. So it's very, very powerful, even for an EDT. And I got this for about 30 bucks at Ross. Next is Prada Candy. To me, this is the worst name for a fragrance because it does not smell like candy whatsoever. This is an ultra powdery iris heavy fragrance. It's got a little bit of sweetness, but I don't think that this smells like candy whatsoever. There's no like fruity sweetness. It's just powdery and it's very comforting. And to me, I can't smell this on paper very well, but on skin, this does something really special. So if you're ever in Sephora, spray this on your skin and let it dry down and see what you get from it. Next is Narcotic Bee from Nasomato. This is a white floral balm with some sweetness. This also says that it has spice in it, but I don't really get a spiciness. This is just a really elegant white floral. I get a lot of gardenia, so if you are a gardenia fan, you definitely need to try this. It is everlasting and you don't need very much of it. Next is Xerjoff La Capitale. This is a really interesting fragrance because you get a lot of fruits in the beginning like strawberry. You also get caramel, so you get a dose of sweetness, but this has a really leathery dry down, so it's ultra complex, very feminine, very womanly. This is one of my favorites out of my whole collection. Very unique, so if you're gonna try it, get a sample. Next is Pure Extreme by Micallef. This is a beautiful floral musk. Very good for every day. A little bit pricey, but I think it's worth it because it lasts for a long time. It just doesn't project a whole lot. Next is Choco Musk by Al Rehab. This is a chocolate musk fragrance. It smells like powder from Cocoa Puffs, and it is super affordable. You can get this for about $12. Next is Melody of the Sun by Mancera. This is a lavender fragrance with some citrus. It's very clean, a little bit aquatic, and really, really good for every day. Here we have the infamous Shoggoth Oud. This is a rose oud saffron with a bunch of sweetness. This is a very sweet powerhouse. Hey, look, there's me. And this is affordable online, and if you like Middle Eastern sort of scent profile, this is a must-have because it is crazy powerful. I'm talking 24 hours wear. Next is Rich Cherry by the brand Orena, and this is inspired by Lost Cherry by Tom Ford. I find this one to be a little bit more powdery, but still really enjoyable, and these are long wearing, and the bottle is super substantial. It actually kind of reminds me of my Chanel bottles. Also by Orena is Nude Santra, which is inspired by Santal 33, a very dry sandalwood fragrance. And lastly is Rose Essence, and this is inspired by Delina by Parfums de Marly. It is a rose lychee, sour, sweet, feminine fragrance, very uplifting. And I don't have the original Delina, but I have two that are very similar, so I don't feel like I need a full-size bottle. Barcane by Teo Cabanel is a very, very spicy amber fragrance. This is like a kitchen cabinet fragrance. Every spice in your kitchen cabinet is in this fragrance. Next is brand new in my collection. This is by the brand BDK, and this is Possessoir Extrait. I just got sent this from Lucky Scent. This is a quince fruit fragrance, which can smell a little bit like pineapple, or it can smell like apple to some people. It is very, very sweet with a strong patchouli dry down, and this is so intoxicating. This is like a boozy summer fruity floral that is really nuanced. So if you like the original, this is just a souped up version. Last on this shelf is Dead Cool Red Dakota. This is a delicious, long-lasting citrus fragrance. It's so unique. It's got this warm ambery dry down. I had a travel size that I completely finished of this. So if you like citrus fragrances, this is a must-have. We have this next shelf that has all of my Brown Girl Jane fragrances, a lot of my Orientica fragrances, and all of my Andrea Mac fragrances. So let's start with Brown Girl Jane. First up, we have Casablanca, and this is a really delicious marshmallow fragrance that has a little bit of powderiness and a little bit of a suede dry down. It has cardamom and vanilla, very cozy and very smooth. Next is Dusk. This one is a little bit similar, but definitely more woody and a little bit more unisex in my opinion. This has milk and coconut and almond, so again, very smooth, powdery, and not as sweet as Casablanca. Here we have Dare. This is a cherry fragrance, but this is one of the best cherry fragrances I've tried because it doesn't smell medicinal. It's got the note of lychee to give it a little bit of tanginess, but then it's balanced with some black pepper that is not all too consuming. So if you like cherry fragrances, definitely give this one a go. Last, and my personal favorite, is Dawn. This one is a vanilla dominant fragrance with a little bit of amber in the dry down, but it smells like raspberries and cream to me, like a really high-end and raspberries and cream hair conditioner. It's not so edible, but it is really, really beautiful. Next is Amber Noir from Orientica. Once again, one that reminds me of Santal 33 a lot, nearly identical. Next is Oud Saffron. This is an Oud Saffron Vanilla Patchouli, and if you have Shagaf Oud, you pretty much have this one already. People also say it's similar to Oud Bouquet, but I kind of feel like if you have one of these fragrances, you pretty much have them all because they're so powerful that they're hard to decipher the differences between. I'm going to lump these two together. They're both from Orientica, but we have exclusive Oud Rouge and we have Amber Rouge, and both of these smell very similar to Baccarat Rouge 540. They are super redundant in my collection, so I'm deciding what I want to do with them because I do not necessitate both. Next is Royal Blue, and this one reminds me of Leighton by Parfums de Marly. This is a masculine fragrance. It's aromatic, but it has some darker qualities as well. It's fresh, yet sweet, yet dark at the same time. I really, really like this one, and the performance of these are incredible. Lastly, for my Orienticas is Velvet Gold. This one smells like Gentle Fluidity Gold, and it is a powerhouse. It is a powdery, sweet vanilla with a warm ambery dry down. This is so intoxicating, so if that one is out of your budget, this smells near identical. First, out of my Andrea Mac fragrances, this one is called Magma. This is a dark incense rose fragrance with patchouli. It is definitely better for cooler weather, but these are blended to perfection. They just smell really expensive and regal, and they last an incredible amount of time because this is actually an extrait de parfum. Another extrait de parfum is Pavilion, and once again, this is a rose oud saffron with notes of praline and honey. Very, very similar to Shagaf Oud or Oud Saffron. So I now have three with a very, very similar scent profile. I will say this one smells the most high quality. It is the most expensive, but it's really well worth the money. It's very refined and smells like an Arabian princess. My personal favorite out of the group, this is called Entrance. And on the dry down, this is a warm amber vanilla fragrance, but it has a lot of spiciness coming from some nutmeg and saffron, but it's not too sweet. So it's green and earthy with a touch of sweetness and a really warm dry down. It's super multifaceted and it's incredible. Next is their newest release. This is a summer release called Solstice, and this is a watermelon fragrance. So it smells very natural watermelon, not candied. And then you have Muguet or Lily of the Valley that give a floral yet aquatic touch. So this is a very refreshing fragrance. If you like light, delicate florals with a touch of natural sweetness, you would like this one. Ceramic is also one of my favorites. This is a soapy aldehydic fragrance, so you're definitely going to get a clean laundry vibe, but you'll also get something that smells a little bit mineral, a little bit like stone. So think of cold clay. Next is Dual, and this is a ginger lemon fragrance with an amber dry down, and it's got a really beautiful dry cedar wood. So you get a little bit of spiciness, definitely a refreshing citrus, and a woodiness. Lastly, we have Craft, and this is an incense fragrance along with having a cold metal smell. So if you can imagine cold metal along with a warm burning incense that's very sheer and is not overpowering, this is a beautiful, beautiful fragrance. Next are all of my Keali fragrances. I do have some duplicates because I have travel sizes of some of the bigger bottles, so I'll start with these ones in front. This first one is Utopia Vanilla Cocoa. This is a super delicious creamy coconut with a thick sweet vanilla cream and a very heavy dose of white florals. This is feminine, it is smooth, but this is touted as a summer and spring fragrance, and personally I think with the thickness of the white florals this does better in cooler weather because it is quite a heavy fragrance, but the lasting power is phenomenal. It's a little bit mature and it is very, very womanly, very sexy. Next is Musk, and I'm sad to say I believe they are discontinuing this, so I'm happy that I actually have two small ones and a large one, and I might even have a backup of this one. This is just a clean white musk with some delicate florals. It just smells clean and fresh. It's the most perfect fragrance for every day, and I feel like people slept on this one a lot, but I get a lot of compliments on this. Next is Eden Juicy Apple. This is sugared red berries, a juicy candy red apple with that nice vanilla dry down that you get from Keali fragrances. At first, I won't lie, I thought this was something similar similar that you could get at Bath & Body Works. But once I got it on skin, I let these bottles sit. It really, really is magical and it's perfect for hot weather. This is my personal favorite from the group. This is called Invite Only. This is quite a polarizing fragrance. Not a lot of people are in love with this as much as I am, but this is a dark, smooth amber fragrance. It's got some warming qualities like cinnamon and tobacco, and I just think it smells so luxurious. So if you like deeper, darker scents, definitely get your nose on this one. Let it sit on your skin and let the bottle macerate, because I feel like they don't macerate these for long enough, and once they do, they are just pure magic. Next is Elixir. This is a jasmine apple patchouli fragrance. It has a bit of a classic scent profile, but with the sweetness of the apple, it really brightens up that patchouli, making it a bit more balmy and less earthy. So if you like something that definitely feels mature and feels womanly, but still feels modern, I would check this one out. Next, we have Citrus. This is a very easygoing, fresh, musky citrus fragrance that you can wear to the gym or running errands, but it's very uncomplicated. So if you like something a little bit more simple and straightforward, try this one. Next is Sweet Diamond Pink Pepper. This is a rose fragrance with a really prominent pink pepper note, and it is very, very sweet. You get that signature vanilla dry down on this one. This is ultra, ultra feminine, but I'm not certain if it's super me. I do enjoy it on other people, but for me, it's a little bit intense. Next up is the Wedding Collection. We have Velvet Santal and Silk Santal. Silk Santal reminds me a lot of Vanilla 28, but it's definitely not as boozy and woody, and has some added notes of musk and a notable fruitiness, a lot sweeter. And I already have a pretty sizable dent, even though I just got this bottle, because it's so good. This is quickly becoming one of my favorites. And then we have Velvet Santal, which is nice and unisex. To me, it's primarily a musk fragrance, a white musk, along with a creamy sandalwood. And if you like Versace Crystal Noir, but it was a little bit too spicy for you, that's what this one reminds me of a little bit. Next is Yum Pistachio Gelato, and as the name would suggest, this is a sweet gelato pistachio fragrance, but you get a lot of powderiness and a lot of freshness, and I get a heavy dose of cotton candy and citrus. Ever popular Vanilla 28. This is like a baker's vanilla extract. This is a little bit boozy. It's got a warm brown sugar. It's a little bit woody, and you got a little bit of floral in there, so it's beautiful, warm, sweet, complex, yet simple fragrance. Next is Love Fest Burning Cherry. If you like Tom Ford Lost Cherry, you'll like this. This has a nuttiness and a woodiness, and what makes this different from Lost Cherry is this has a Palo Santo, so in the dry down you get some boozy, smoky woodiness along with a really sweet cherry. Lastly is Deja Vu White Flower. This is a white floral dominant fragrance, which leans a little bit on the mature side, a little bit vintage, but it's made modern with some vanilla and some fruitiness. This is a powerhouse, so if you overspray this, you might choke somebody out, but I adore this fragrance. On this next shelf, I have all of my 5 cents fragrances and all of my Skylar fragrances, along with one little random outlier. So let's start with 5 cents. Starting off with Twin Flame. This is a cucumber sandalwood musk fragrance. This reminds me of a light fresh green version of Santal 33. It has that slightly pickly dry sandalwood, but I find this to be one of the most palatable of all of that type of fragrance. Next is Burn For You, and this has grapefruit and rose. This is a natural smelling, slightly spicy rose, and these are very, very easy to like fragrances. So if you're just beginning, I would check out this brand. For me, they're a little bit simple, but I still enjoy them. Next is Life of the Party. This has blackcurrant and jasmine. If you like Donna Born in Roma, you will probably like this one. It has that sweet blackcurrant along with a light jasmine that's not indolic or heavy, so this is very girly. I have 2 favorites, and this is one of them, and this has Madagascar Vanilla and Cashmere Musk, and to me, this smells like a smoky, woody vanilla, kind of reminiscent of Jazz Club or By the Fireplace, but definitely not too intense. Lastly is my second favorite from the brand. This is called Lit, and this has blood orange and bergamot, but to me, this smells like marijuana, and it smells actually very similar to a niche fragrance that I absolutely adore that I will show you guys later. On to my Skylar fragrances. This is Fall Cashmere, and this one smells like a fall candle. It's warm and spicy, it has cinnamon, and I really liked this when I first got it, but as I wear it, it's starting to smell little bit more like a candle than I would like. So we're gonna revisit this once the weather gets cold again and see how I feel. Next is Pink Canyon, and this is a refreshing grapefruit salty lily of the valley. So this is aquatic, it's salty and fresh, and it's good for hot weather. Next is Lime Sands. This is one of my favorites from Skylar. It smells like a fizzy lime soda and clean laundry. It definitely has a detergent-like feel while having something sparkling and citric and also being a little bit sweet. Very similarly is Boardwalk Delight, but this one has cotton candy and coconut milk, so you get a load of sweetness and you don't get as much tanginess, but this also shares the dryer sheet laundry detergent-like quality, so it has a cleanness about it. Salt Air is the perfect fragrance for every day. This smells like you're hanging clean laundry on the French Riviera. It feels a little bit salty and breezy, fresh and clean, and if you don't like fruit notes, you get that cleanness without a sweetness. This one is quite an interesting one. This is called Indigo Valley. This has the note of blueberry, chocolate, and marshmallow, but to me, it has quite a prominent lotus that gives it an aquatic floral feel, along with a little bit of jasmine and suede in the dry down. Very, very unique from this house. Peach Fields is a juicy tart peach fragrance with a little bit of a green, fresh undertone, so it doesn't smell candied, but think a little bit floral and a little bit earthy. Lastly from Skylar is Vanilla Sky. If you were a fan of Black Opium, this is almost its baby sister. This is a vanilla with the note of cappuccino, but think more of a vanilla bean frappuccino from Starbucks, very sugary and sweet and not too heavy on a black coffee note. The last random little outlier I have on this shelf is by the brand Herb & Cowboy, and this is called Blossom. And although the notes that are listed are orange peel and grapefruit blossom, this kind of reminds me of Delina Exclusive's very young sister. It's sweet, it's powdery, it's lightly floral, and it kind of reminds me of peony or a soft pink rose. On this next shelf, we have my entire collection of Maison Kin. They are an inspired by fragrance house, and we have my collection of Weil fragrances, which is an indie niche house, and these are very artfully done, so let's start off with my Weil collection. First off, we have Decadent Dirty, and to me, this smells like worn leather and a powdery vintage lipstick along with some latex, so a little BDSM action for you. Next is Friction, and this has notes of vinyl, black leather, menthol, and sticky, sweaty floors. So not sure what that's supposed to mean, but this actually kind of reminds me of Haute Couture by Givenchy. Next is Bare Sentient Nocturnal. This has notes of fig, copal, tobacco, and sage. So it's a little bit smoky, a little bit herbal, and a little bit aromatic. Its counterpart is Bare Sentient Soul, and this is a honeyed neroli with copal and tanning oil, and it's got a note of mezcal. So you get that smoky booziness, you get a little bit of a copal resin along with a strong honeyed neroli, but because it's honeyed, it doesn't feel too sharp to me. So I actually like this one even though I don't care for neroli usually. Lastly is my personal favorite from this brand. This is called Aftertaste. If you're a fan of Thé Noir from Le Labo, you need to try this one. It is similar, but it has enough differences that it would add something to your collection. So this has notes of saffron, ash, and leather, and it is just a dark, smoky, little bit earthy fragrance. It is so beautiful. If you try any of these, this is the one I recommend. First out of the house of Maison Kin, this is Roman, and this is inspired by Grand Soir. This is an ambery, warm vanilla fragrance. Really great for cool weather because it's super cozy. Modern Rouge is yet another inspired by Baccarat Rouge. We all know what this smells like. It's an airy, sweet saffron. Can smell a little medicinal to some people. Next is Cellar, and this is inspired by Tom Ford Lost Cherry, yet another one. This one is pretty spot on, so to me it has that beautiful almond and sweet cherry, a little bit of powderiness, but it's not as powdery as the aforementioned inspired by version. Next is Alessi, which is inspired by Amorous Femme. This is a powdery iris fragrance with some fresh citruses in the beginning, and it has a really intoxicating musky musky vetiver dry down that gives it a really clean feel. So if you like floral fragrances, but they tend to be a little bit overpowering, I really like this one, and it is a great alternative. Next is India, and this is inspired by Tam Dao by Diptyque. This is an ultra creamy sandalwood that has a little bit of greenness that gives it a freshness from cypress and a little bit of myrtle, and it has a nice musky dry down. So if you like the clean girl aesthetic, something that's a little bit effortless, this is definitely going to be your friend. Next is Sacred Oud, and this is inspired by Oud for Greatness by Initio. This one, in my opinion, is quite a bit more sheer than the original. I have the original, and the original is super duper beast mode. It is a powerful, spicy, masculine oud fragrance. This one leans just a slight bit more sweet to me. It almost smells like if you mixed Side Effect by Initio and Oud for Greatness. So this one leans a little bit more unisex in my opinion, as opposed to super duper masculine. So if the original was too heavy for you, you might like this. Next is Nomad, and this is inspired by Ombre Nomad by Louis Vuitton. This is a leathery oud with a little bit of aromatic qualities, definitely on the masculine side, but the original is super expensive. I only have a sample of it, and I have another inspired by version of it, and I love this scent profile, but I like that this one is a little bit thinner because the original is very headache inducing to me, even though I love the scent. So this really nice alternative to a super expensive fragrance. Next is Italo. This is inspired by Leighton by Parfums de Marly. Yet again, I have another duplicate. This is a masculine, sweet, spicy, aromatic fragrance, good for date night. Next is Jago. This is inspired by Santal 33. So I think this is now like the third iteration I have. I really need to do a declutter. So keep your eye out on my Mercari for some of these, because I do not need 3 bottles that smell the same. Next is Vert, and this is inspired by Tobacco Vanille by Tom Ford. This is a cinnamon tobacco vanilla fragrance. To me, cinnamon is just too prominent even in the original, so I don't really care for this much, but I keep it around to talk about. Lastly is St. Bart's, and this is inspired by Soleil Blanc by Tom Ford. This is a tropical beach vacation. It's coconut with some spiciness. It's got florals. It smells really elegant, and I've tested this side by side with the original, and they are incredibly similar, but this one is only $60, and these bottles are really substantial. They're heavy with a good cap. So if you're looking for a good inspired house, I would check out Maison Kin. Once again, I am on the floor, so if the camera's wobbly, that's what's up. So down here, I have a whole mix, so let's get into it. First off, we have Dime 7 Summers. This is a clean fragrance house that's low on the toxicity scale, and these are only $48. And this one to me smells exactly like Ariana Grande Cloud. It's got that lavender, vanilla, a little bit of praline, and it is so gorgeous. Next is Core Memory, and this is going to be one of your clean minimalistic fragrances. It's got some citrus in the beginning, it's got some juniper and some bluebell, which is a nice aquatic floral. Next is I Love Your Smell Baby, and this is a gardenia sandalwood scent, but it has a lot of sweet notes. So you have vanilla sugar, you have cotton candy, and you have peach and raspberry. So this is sweet, fruity, floral, really girly, and very uplifting. Next is one of my favorite fragrances of all time. This is London Funk, and this is the one that I said reminds me of Lit from 5 Cents. This is a marijuana smelling fragrance. It's very citrus, it's got some basil that gives it an aromatic touch, and it is a really long wearing fragrance. Next is Opus Core. If you ever wore Daisy by Marc Jacobs or Chanel Chance Eau Tendre, this is very similar. This has acai, it has violets and musk, so this is a clean, sweet, powdery floral fragrance, perfect for every day. Next from Wilhelm is Dear Polly. This is a spicy black tea fragrance. It also has the note of ambergris that gives it a little bit of an earthy animalic touch. To me, this smells like a spiced black tea latte. Lastly, from Wilhelm is Room Service. This is an amazing clean laundry scent. I am obsessed with clean laundry scents. This is a must, but it also has orchid, it has bamboo to give it a little green freshness, and it's sweet from some blackberry. Next is Amethyst from Lattafa. This smells very similar to Oud for Glory, but a little bit more feminine. So this has rose, oud, and pink pepper, and this is slightly more sweet than Oud for Greatness, but this one is much, much more affordable. So if you like rose oud fragrances, but you want something that's unisex, not super sweet like Shagaf Oud, this would be a good choice. Next is Camera by Lattafa, and this smells a lot like Angel Share. The bottle even looks like it. So this is a spicy, warm fragrance. It has cinnamon and nutmeg. It has pralines and dates that make it really sweet, and then some myrrh and benzoin. It's not identical to Angel Share. It's a little bit heavier on the dates and cinnamon in my opinion, but this is a beautiful fragrance for wintertime. Next is from Guerlain, from their Aqua Allegoria line. This is Flora Salvagia. This is a melon fragrance, and it has violet that gives an aquatic floral touch with a little bit of powderiness, along with some iris that really ramps up that powderiness, and a musk. So to me, this dries down very simple, and you kind of lose the appeal of the melon. I bought this when I was at Disneyland, so I think I got really excited and hyped up. And when it dried down, I could just smell a lot of like lily of the valley and violet. This is my precious Toca Florence. This is such a beautiful gardenia fragrance. It has pear in the beginning, so it's a bit sweet, but it is simply the most beautiful gardenia fragrance that I have ever tried. Next is Flamenco by Ramon Monegal. This is a raspberry rose iris fragrance. So it is powdery, it is sweet, it kind of reminds me of the smell of a Barbie doll, but then in the base it has some cedar and some green notes like cypress and pine. So it has some interest as it dries down. It's not too simple. Next is Replica When the Rain Stops. This is a very aquatic fragrance, so it smells like cold rain and a little bit of moss, patchouli, and it has a little bit of spiciness from pink pepper. It kind of reminds me of a barbershop scent. Next is Melt My Heart from Strangelove NYC. This is an incredibly expensive fragrance. This is like a high quality chocolate with a very, very powdery iris. So it smells a little bit vintage. There's a little bit of an animalic touch as well that gives it a nice rounded quality. So very regal smelling. Next is Je ne sais quoi by Theo Cabanel. This is a beautiful creamy sandalwood with matcha and rice. But to me, it smells a little bit like peanut butter. So I really enjoy it. Last on this shelf is Nebras by Lattafa. This smells a lot like Eilish by Billie Eilish. This is a vanilla cacao fragrance with a lot of sugar, kind of a warm ambery base, and a little bit of red berries. They smell nearly identical, but I like this one better. I think it performs better and is just a little bit smoother on the blend. I did not care for Eilish that much, but I'm wearing this today and I think it's wonderful. Okay guys, I am going to have to cut this video into 2 parts because I still have an entire cabinet on this side and all of my travel size fragrances and all of my lotions. So I know that this is going to be already a very long video. So we're going to cut this into 2 parts. So make sure that you guys check in next week where we'll be doing a part 2 of my entire fragrance tour. That'll be Saturday, 10 a.m. PST. And until then, take care of yourselves, my friends.